What up, Space Fam? Goes in here from Anime Uproar, and I got a crazy chapter to discuss this week. We got One Piece peak hype with the Straw Hats CP0 team up against the Seraphims, not to mention the return of Shanks in epic fashion, and much more, so make sure to stay tuned for this monumental chapter. Channel Pirate King within, and smash that like button until you see fireworks if you like these weekly One Piece reviews and want to keep them coming. Make this the video you join the Knock if you haven't already by subscribing and hitting that notification bell to turn on all notifications, or you will miss future One Piece videos and updates. This chapter is called Old Friends because we got surprise appearances from some fan favorite characters, but we'll save that for later. We got an awesome color spread this week of the Straw Hats, and as usual, great to see the Nami love. But back to the chapter itself, we got Luffy and Zoro being confronted by the Mihawk Seraphim and the Kuma Seraphim. Last chapter, Kaku and Lucci were asking to be released so that they could help fight the Seraphims. As mentioned during the last chapter, I felt like they would release them because they can't let them die in handcuffs. Plus, who doesn't like one of those moments where old enemies have to team up to fight a new enemy? Zoro is now saying that, yeah, even if they fought together, he can't see a future where they'd let the Straw Hats lock them up again. Kaku is the rational, lying one. He's calm and collected and telling them what they want to hear. He says, that's not true. If we can get through this crisis, we'll keep quiet and let you lock us up again. We then get a hilarious moment of Luffy being naive and taking everything at face value. He simply says, alright, that's fine by me, while Zoro freaks out at him saying Kaku is obviously lying. In the meantime, Seraphim Mihawk goes in for an attack. And we see something very interesting indeed. Turns out that just because Mihawk doesn't have devil fruit powers, it doesn't mean that S-Hawk doesn't. As they did with Seraphim Jinbei, they decided to give S-Hawk a very fitting devil fruit, particularly the Dice fruit, the power we've seen from Daw's Bones, aka Mr. One. He uses the power to turn his leg into a blade for a second and sends a slash attack flying at them with it. Zoro is shocked to see it and immediately recognizes the power of the Dice fruit. Kaku keeps trying to convince Zoro to free them, since as things are, he needs to protect them, and he keeps egging him on to just release them, so he doesn't have to worry about them and they can help. It's Punk number 1, aka Daft Punk, who asks them point blank what their mission is. And I love how honest Lucci is here. He says point blank that his goal is the elimination of the 7 Vegapunks. Kaku's reaction is hilarious as he says, Vegapunk's literally standing right in front of you, Lucci. I love their dynamic, I really do. For antagonists especially, it's very well done. And it's clear that Kaku and Zoro are the two rational ones, while Luffy and Lucci are the two upfront ones. Daft Punk then says it also doesn't seem like Stussy will get off the hook for betraying them, and Lucci hilariously says, yeah, I'll never forgive her. Kaku freaks out again, asking him, are you even trying to save yourself? I genuinely really enjoyed the comedic aspect of this back and forth. Oda did a great job with it, I must say. Then Zoro hears Nami's scream. He points out that the 4 of them, meaning the 4 Seraphims, are on a rampage, and he wonders how many people they gotta protect now aside from the 7 Vegapunks. Luffy makes the executive decision, but rationalizes it in the best and most hilarious way. He tells Daft Punk, who he calls Helmet, to give him the handcuffs. Daft Punk does so and tells them to protect the Stella. Luffy tells Kaku and Lucci to their face, after we stop these 4 Seraphims, since you can't beat me, you won't go after my friends or the Vegapunks, got it? I think it's the worst thing he could have said to antagonize Lucci. Zoro even tells him not to provoke them like that. And angry Lucci says, as you wish, because he wants to kill Luffy first anyways, so he'll only turn on his friends after Luffy is out of the picture. A shocked Zoro tells Luffy to obviously not let Lucci join after he said that, but of course Luffy does free them, just in time for them to dodge a giant Ursus shock attack that destroys the building itself. So as you guys know by now, I wanted to see Zoro go one-on-one against Seraphim Mihawk desperately. But here we have Lucci and Luffy versus S-Bear, and Zoro and Kaku versus S-Hawk. However, they are not going all out. Luffy is even using Gear 4 rather than Gear 5. Now, I'm not personally sure if it's just to conserve energy because it's not necessary, or if Luffy just doesn't have energy right now to maintain Gear 5 for long. Anyways, Luffy and Lucci launch a combined attack that sends S-Bear flying, while Zoro and Kaku do the same with S-Hawk. It definitely looks like they have the upper hand for now, even if they aren't going all out. It'll be interesting to see what happens and if we do switch to one-on-one at some point, especially considering there are 2 other Seraphims to deal with. Then we jump to the research facility and we finally figure out what happened to the Stella Vegapunk. There are CP agents inside of here as well, some haven't had a decent meal for 2 months. It turns out this is where all those disappearing agents ended up. And of course, chances are that the one responsible is the one messing things up from the inside. They were attacked by CP Beast's weapons, and they thought it was because of Vegapunk, but now that Vegapunk is there in prison with them, and even beat up and bleeding, they apologize. Vegapunk says outright that he had no idea something like this was happening. So that's one mystery solved, even if we don't know the bigger mystery of who is responsible yet. And again, this really feels like a One Piece inspired Among Us game, and I can't wait to find out who the imposter is. And I'm hoping it's a good Scooby-Doo-esque shock, someone we know of, rather than someone completely random. We quickly get a scene letting us know that Navy Branch G9 has set sail for Egghead, and that over 100 ships of all sizes are coming. As if this wasn't enough going on, we then jump to a certain island in the New World, specifically to a bar at a small port. It's interesting, Oda purposely recreates a familiar scene for us. It's a Viking kid, but he's exactly like Luffy was when Shanks first visited him. He wants a pirate, spoiler, it's Shanks again, to take him along. Shanks, like last time, tells the kid that he can't come, and he calls him a hot-headed brat, and the kid is upset, just as Luffy was. There's even another woman there working at the bar to try to speak some sense to the kid, and of course to flirt with Shanks. The kid says he doesn't care if he upsets Shanks, since he's going to be the boss someday. And then one of Shanks' men interrupt him while he's drinking, telling him, "Big boss, someone just attacked us." He says it looks like it's going to turn into a fight. And if you recall, Kid was at Elbaf last time we saw him, so this is interesting stuff. Shanks wonders if it was good timing or bad timing since they were just about to depart. He says that it looks like they talked for too long. He thought both of his friends were dead, so he couldn't help it when he saw them there. And the reveal, which we'll get to soon, of who these old friends are is big. Pun intended. But for now, it's so nice seeing Shanks' crew here as well. I feel like this is the most attention Oda paid to Shanks and his crew since the first chapter. Beckman says the enemy is surely angry at them, while Rue laughs and says, yeah, they know who he holds a grudge against. The kid is excited that this fight may start a war. Meanwhile, Shanks tells him to set sail, while the crew asks, are we really doing this, boss? And whenever someone says, are we really doing this, boss, it just hypes up the situation so much. And the woman working at the bar is clearly infatuated with Shanks, as he says he won't let the island turn into a battlefield. The funny thing is, the woman doesn't even think to herself, wow, what a brave man, or wow, what a dependable man, but rather just thinks, wow, what a handsome man. Then it's revealed who the old friends were when Shanks asks Dory and Broggy to lend a hand. Of course they agree, and as they are revealed, we also get the clarification that this is in fact the country of proud warriors Elbaf, and since Elbaf and Shanks have been hyped up for so long, this is indeed big, even without the epic Dory and Broggy reveal. I hope we see some action here, but Shanks as usual wants to avoid fighting if possible. He tells him to give Captain Kidd a message. Do you really want to fight me now, or will you leave your road poneglyphs behind and disappear? Choose wisely. End quote. If Kid answers right, we might get to see red hair versus red hair, and maybe even see a bit of what Shanks is capable of in an actual fight. We then jump to Kid, and it's looking good for those of us who want to battle. He looks at his missing arm, which is now a mecha arm, and says back then we couldn't even get a glimpse of Big Boss Redhair. Of course, meaning Shanks. They were beaten to a pulp with no chance of fighting back. And Kid even lost his arm, it's pointed out. Killer tells him this time he might not just lose an arm, but his life. The stakes are high and the situation is hype. Keep in mind, the guy just came from a victory over a Yonko. Granted, it was with Law's help, but still he's probably feeling pretty confident, even though I don't see him holding a candle to Shanks. In all honesty. He's hot-headed though, and he wants revenge for his arm, so it will still probably happen. We got Law versus Blackbeard, Luffy versus the world government, and now Kid versus Shanks. This is so crazy right now, man, and I love it. We are so lucky to be able to experience One Piece right now. We then jump to Shanks and people fangirling over him. They even say they wanted to pay tribute to him, but he says they don't have that kind of system, implying that Shanks doesn't collect money in exchange for protecting his territories. It's awesome that people still want to pay though. Oda continues to build up Shanks and his likability. We then get to see Kid's clearly worried but determined face as he laughs in front of his crew and says he'll only lose his life if he loses the battle, right? Implying that he's not planning on losing, which is also a hype thing to say. Like, I want to give credit to Kid. Shanks, obviously no one can compare to him, but Kid in his own right is a very cool character and deserves respect. Shanks, in contrast to the worried Kid, looks calm and he's about to face the supernova. The narrative narrator even seems to spoil that a fight will indeed happen, as he says fiery warriors are about to clash. So much hype, and as expected, Oda gave us some great stuff to hold us over since there will be a break next week. Now, if you want to know exactly how strong Shanks is and learn everything there is to know about the character so far, you won't want to miss my Shanks is way stronger than you think video. Link on screen now and in the description. It's an hour-long video that will definitely hype you up for the next chapter.